All information in this program is known to be accurate at the time of recording. Any commentary by the host is for discussion purposes only. Anyone labeled a person of interest by the host or family has not been charged with a crime. All suspects charged with crimes related or unrelated to a case covered are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Opinions and views expressed by the host do not represent views of the families or sponsors of this program. In the U.S., there are over 600,000 missing persons cases reported each year. Many go unnoticed by the general public and are not covered by the media or investigated by law enforcement. Here is just one of these stories. From Grim Media, I'm your host, Steve Stone, and this is the Grim Truth Podcast.
Kimberly Flint's family had been holding their breath since she went missing in September 2018. With no leads, her son James's mind raced through every outcome possible.
Not knowing if she's still alive or if she's passed away or if she's safe or if she's suffering.
A break in the case came on January 19th, 2022. Someone found human remains in a heavily wooded area off of Highway 84 and called Rusk County authorities.
The dental records were a perfect match, and the remains that we recovered were that of Mrs. Flint.
Rusk County Sheriff John Wayne Valdez says before she went missing, Kimberly Flint crashed her car on the Angelina River bridge. When investigators found the car, she wasn't in it. There was also no blood in the car or any evidence of foul play.
We'll probably never know if it was something in the road or if it was a mechanical failure or she just fell asleep.
More than 3 years later, investigators found her remains almost a mile away from the crash site. James lost his father to COVID last year. On Thursday, Sheriff Valdez called James into his office to confirm his mom was gone, too.
Yeah, I kind of broke down and started crying, and a lot of emotions were running through me.
It's the painful closure he's still grateful for.
Yeah, I can actually start grieving in a normal way now. Because you can't really grieve when you don't know if somebody's dead or alive.
Valdez says he's worked on 4 missing persons cases like this in his career. They don't get any easier, but him and his team are committed to helping this family heal. In Rusk County, Shondell Maniz, CBS 19.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Grim Truth Podcast, episode 29, the Kim Flint case. I'm your host, Steve Stone. As you just heard in that clip, that's courtesy of CBS 19 in Texas. Kimberly Flint's remains were found a mile away from where she crashed back in 2018. We were covering this case, and we were going to release it the week the remains were found, and I thought that it would be better to kind of let the family mourn, and especially James, and then talk about Kimberly's case. One, the reason why I think we need to discuss it is, one, to honor her and her family. Two, closure. I never liked the word, but it might be cliche, but they didn't know. James didn't know what happened to his mom. Didn't know if she had been hurt by someone or what happened. And there is still a report from the University, I believe, of Northern Texas, who there's still the forensic experts there are still finalizing a report. But we really don't know what happened to Kim after the accident. And the difference in Kim's case, as many others, is there was some news coverage about Kim's case. But the tough questions have to be asked. What could have been done that might have prevented finding Kim deceased? Now, we don't know if Kim was injured in the accident. We don't know that. But I want to dive into some of the doubts that James had during our interview, where he didn't believe forensically the cops were doing a lot. And then there comes to the question to search. Again, Kim was found a mile away from the accident there on the bridge. And so that's a discussion that has to be had. At the end of the day, the purpose of this episode is to honor the memory of Kim Flint and James's struggle to do what he can to find his mom. You know, you heard in that clip that he had lost his father to COVID last year. And then, so there's a lot of going on. And I want to just say right off the bat, my heart goes out to James and his family. And our thoughts and prayers are forever with you. So let's get into it. Here's my interview with James regarding the initial call that his mother had been missing and the investigation that ensued.
She wasn't, I don't know, she seemed like she was a sound mind because she talked to my dad that day. I was actually coming in from work. I was an over-the-road trucker, and she knew I was coming in, and for whatever reason, we believe she got in a vehicle and drove off towards Reclaw, Texas, which is it's only 15 miles from the house, and the vehicle crashed due to it seems like she swerved into the bridge. But after the fact, we haven't been able to find her, not even in the woods. We believe that somebody picked her up off the roadway after the crash.
Were there any belongings that she left inside of the vehicle, purse, cell phone, anything like that?
Her cell phone were all at the house. Only thing she had was the keys to the vehicle and her glasses, which her glasses were found in the floorboard, passenger side floorboard, probably due to the impact. But there's no blood, that we know of, because the sheriff's office never, I don't think they ever did a proper screening of the vehicle with like luminol or this chemical agents to react to fluids.
Right. And they
never did.
They didn't treat it like a crime scene?
No, they treated it as a abandoned vehicle, like a drug runner or a drunk crashed it and just ran off, which if they would just did a little bit of investigation, that they would just pull the NCIC report or the local police report for my mom. They'll seen that she had problems already, because the sheriff responded to when she hurt herself.
Right.
But it should be in the local history. And if they would just did that, they would have seen it was her vehicle, and 56-year-old lady, that suffered from depression. So, but they didn't do that. They just assumed it was an abandoned vehicle, and not until I got there and started raising hell, and they started doing anything.
When you hear James talk, you first of all, at the time we did the interview, nobody had a clue as to whether Kim had driven herself, or after the accident Kim had been picked up by somebody. Nobody knew. When talking with James, I automatically got the impression this guy is not layman. He knows what he's talking about. And in our conversation, I learned that he's a former United States Marine, military police officer, and he has a background in doing none other than accidents and accident investigations. But when we're talking about Kim's case, the number one thing that he brought up was the fact that his mother had suffered from some depression and some mental illness issues, and he says something that's striking to me in that first segment is, if they had just gone the extra mile and taken the steps to, okay, this car belongs to Kimberly Flint. Let's look at and if they went and did some digging and went through the motions, they could have said, okay, she's had a history of depression and some issues. We need to escalate. And I think that he felt that way, during the interview, that, they, instead of treating it as a car accident or abandoned vehicle, they should have been a little more attentive to, taking care and looking at, calls that had Kim been involved with before, and her struggle with mental health issues, and had reacted faster. And I think that is ultimately one of his concerns during that interview. Again, his history, James's history in the military and his training, he's done a lot of this throughout his career. So, looking on the outside, he's not an outsider. He knows what needs to be done and what should be done. So, in talking with him, you automatically know that he understands what needed to be done in this case. Frankly, well, in this next segment, when he talks about the accident and it appeared that the car hit not at a direct impact on the bridge, but a glancing blow. But that, again, he looked at the vehicle how he felt it should have been looked at. Was she wearing a seatbelt, this, that, and the other thing? And they didn't find any blood in the car. So here's my second segment with the interview I did with James Flint prior to hearing that his mother's remains had been found. Take a listen. What happened to the vehicle?
So that day it got towed. After the crash, it was towed. Within, I don't know, hour or two after the crash, to a local tow yard in Henderson, Texas, and it sat there for 3 to 4 days. I can't remember exactly, until I went there and I started doing my own little preliminary investigation, taking pictures, looking for any signs of struggle or fluids, or if she was wearing her seatbelt, seatbelt striations, which apparently she was, because that impact, she should have hit the steering wheel, but she didn't. And the airbags didn't go off because it was a glancing blow. It wasn't a front blow. Right. So it didn't deploy the airbags. And I was looking for anything, my little background, I was never a civilian cop, but I was a military policeman for the Marines. What I really think happened is that she had some type of mental break. She just grabbed the keys to the car, left everything there, and started driving for whatever reason, right? You don't know. Like, I never thought my mom would hurt herself, Right. Just somebody mentally ill. For whatever, there's no rash, right? She just did it. And for whatever reason, I don't know. I don't think she was really trying to hurt herself again or kill herself. I don't know. But because the way she drove into the bridge, it was more like a gradual pull of the steering wheel, even though the sheriffs and stuff said it was like a jerky motion. When I looked at the striation marks from the wheels, it was more like a gradual hard pull, not like a jerk. You know what I mean? Right. Because the right side of the vehicle was hit. It wasn't the left or not. It was the right side. She crashed on into the bridge, and it was like somebody fell asleep or something. It's just they maintained the same speed, but they pulled the wheel gradually to the right. I got you. Like a gradual pull. Okay. It wasn't like a jerk. If a jerk, she probably would have flipped the vehicle going 70-some miles an hour. But after the fact, when she hit the bridge, there wasn't any signs of braking. There was signs of acceleration especially after she or whoever was driving, because we still don't really know who was driving. they say it was, I believe it was her, honestly, but she hit the concrete and slid up to where the metal guardrail meets the concrete.
Right.
And when the tire hit that metal, it broke the A-arm and it started dragging, because you can see road scarring from the metal of the A-arm going down the road. And she or whoever accelerated until the vehicle couldn't drive anymore and came to a stop.
In our final segment, we discuss the importance of searching. And we know for a fact in homicide cases and in missing persons cases, the first 24 to 48 hours are the most important. That could make or break these cases. Not only that, the ability to assess a scene, whether it's an abandoned car, like in the case of Kaya Taylor, for example. You know, we can't just look at a vehicle and go, oh, this is an abandoned vehicle. I believe that law enforcement needs to treat every scene as if it's a crime scene until you have all the facts. That wasn't done here. Now, I am not saying in any way, shape, or form that the car that Kimberly was driving could have played a factor in finding her sooner, or that there was evidence that dictated something else happened. By all accounts, there was nothing that really showed that there was any foul play. There was no blood in the car. However, moving a car or changing things hurts a case if there was something that could have been determined from being in that car. I spoke with James about this and about the search, and what we're going to hear is what needs to be changed, and that is sitting idly by and not actively looking probably does, well, for a fact does more harm than good, and this is what needs to change. Here's my final segment, my final interview with James as we discuss the movement of Kimberly's car and the search for his mom.
I called the Texas DPS officer, the state trooper that was on the scene, and I asked him, I was like, because he's the one that moved the vehicle. After I, started asking questions to the sheriffs and finding out who did what. So anyway, he told me that he had to move the seat back to move it, right? But I was like, well, sir, how tall are you? He was over 6 foot. So that doesn't really give me a lot of, I guess, I can't really exactly tell how much the seat was pulled up. Because, yes, if my mom was driving, it would be pulled up a lot, right?
Correct, yes.
But if I'm driving, I'm 5'6", even that state trooper would have to move it back. So, it could have, I don't know.
Was a search done in the surrounding areas?
So the day of, me, my dad, and one of my dad's work friends, because after we met so I didn't say this, but when the day I was waiting to get picked up, when I came home, I had to wait for my dad to get off work to pick me up. And I was parked in Nacogdoches, Texas, which is about 20-something miles from Laneville, or 30, I can't remember exact, but I called my dad. I tried to call the house, no answer, which wasn't anything out of the norm, because sometimes my mom was in the bathroom, or she might have been outside with the dog, But usually she would answer the phone if she was around it. It's a house phone. It's on a charger. It's not like a cell phone. So I called my dad and said, hey, I'll be there about 2. Can you come grab me when you get off work? He's like, sure. But this was earlier, like at noon, before noon. So anyway, he gets off work about, I think, was it 4 or something? And now it's almost 5 o'clock, and I call him. And I'm like, hey, Dad, what's up? Where you at? He goes, well, we got a situation. And I was like, what's going on? He goes, well, they found your mother's vehicle crash on Highway 84, going towards Reclaw, Texas, and she's not there. And, I'm going to the house. Well, I went to the house, so I'm going to the house now to see if she's there and check, make sure the vehicle's gone. It's our vehicle, And as soon as he said that, I was like, come get me. Like now. So by the time it took him to come get me and get back, they had towed the vehicle, and the deputy wanted to meet us, just to take a statement. So we met him in Mount Enterprise, Texas, which is I think about 10 miles from where the crash was, at a little Shell station there. And as soon as I seen that sheriff, I walked up to him, and I was like, hey, my name's Corbett Flint, or James Flint, whatever, because my dad goes by James too. And I was like, y'all found my mother's vehicle crashed. She's not there. She's not at home, because my dad, he went there and checked. So right now she's missing. So like, what are y'all doing? And it was a sheriff lieutenant, and he's like, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. Let me wait till my deputy gets here. So they took I asked him, I was like, hey, are you gonna do a bolo? Are you gonna do a silver alert? Are you gonna do you gonna put it in NCIC, which is the National Criminal Information Center, as a missing person, so if any other agency pulls or finds her or pulls her over, that it'll pop up. Oh yeah, we'll do all that. They left, and I was like, well, looks like they ain't searching now. So me and my dad and my dad's friend, we started searching. Went to the scene, started looking, started hollering her name, and a couple of hours of that, I called the sheriff's office again. I was like, hey, my mom's missing. Because I actually went back to the house to check too. I checked for forced entry. I checked for any signs of struggle.
Right.
I checked for anything. And I didn't see anything. All her stuff was still there. Her wallet, her phone, everything. So we went back, and like I said, I went back to the scene with my dad and my dad's friend. I called the sheriff's office. I was like, so this is me, Corbett Flint. My mom's missing. What are y'all doing, pretty much, to the dispatcher? She goes, well, let me transfer you to the sergeant on duty. Talk to the sergeant on duty. He's like, what's going on? They didn't even know. The night shift sergeant. So I told him, his name was Clint. I can't remember his first name. Sergeant Clint. I was like, I told him. So he goes, well, I'm going to come out there. So him and another young deputy came out, and they started helping us search. And I was like, dude, what's up? When does this escalate? Look, my mom has a history of mental, like she's been in the hospital, like a mental hospital before, after she hurt herself, right? She has a history. Also, when's this ramp up? When do y'all get the dogs out here? When do you get the flare helicopter out here? When do you set up a command center? When do y'all do all this? Like most people have, most agencies have. And sure enough, he got on the phone talking to somebody, either the sheriff or either like a lieutenant or somebody, and whoever was on the phone with him told him, hey, don't worry about that. Let's wait till the day shift comes on.
Oh my God.
But what he told me was, hey, he goes, hey, we can't get anything out right now, like dog, search and rescue, whatever, because there's some weather coming in. It's going to be raining and thunderstorm and stuff. And in my head, I'm thinking, like, what do you mean? Come on, man. What about if it was your mom or somebody's mom?
The grim truth about the Kimberly Flint case is this. Law enforcement and especially in Rusk County, has to go about making changes to assessing whether or not a scene is a crime scene, and making sure that their standard operating procedures for when to go looking for a missing person changes. To be fair, the sheriff that is currently the head of the Rusk County Sheriff's Department was not in charge of the initial investigation and wasn't a part of the department in 2018. With that being said, I hope that when a law enforcement agency makes changes, that they take a look at their policies and procedures on how things are handled. It is really important that the changes are made, that when a person is missing and it happens to be an abandoned car, like with the case of Jacob Paddock Weeks and Kaya Taylor, that those scenes are treated as crime scenes until evidence proves otherwise. So much potential evidence could be lost, and that can affect so much in a case, especially when it comes to a missing person. Furthermore, searching for someone, again, the first 24 to 48 hours are important. They're crucial. And what is it going to hurt to start the search and the looking for someone immediately, like you would a high-profile case? What is it going to hurt? Could it have changed how and when Kimberly Flint was found? We'll never know that. And again, I want to be clear. I'm not knocking the current administration in Rusk County. Again, this is a different sheriff. But I firmly believe that they need to take a good look inward and see if their standards and practices and their procedures are worth changing, so that we can prevent a case like Kimberly Flint's. It's very, very important, and it's very, very vital, because I believe if those changes are met, that you increase the likelihood of finding a missing person and finding them alive, and that's ultimately important. I do want to thank James Flint, the Flint family, for allowing us to tell this story. Our thoughts and prayers are with you in this time of grieving, and may God bless you, and may God bless Kimberly Flint. Now, Kimberly suffered from mental health issues and depression, and we want to be able to reach out to those that may feel like there's no hope and that they're not worth being here. And you can contact the National Mental Health Helpline at 1-800-903-3787. Again, that's 1-800-903-3787. You're not alone, and someone will be there to talk with you. I also want to take this time, since we talked about change, to let everybody know that this podcast is sponsored by the Forum for the Missing. We are teaming up with the World of the Missing, Justice for Will in April, and the Missing East Texas 8 and Beyond, which is a wonderful group. Karen and Tracy and Alyssa, who brought me this case. We are doing a Forum for the Missing. We want everyone to be a part of this change. If you're interested in attending this virtual forum, please email me, stevestone@thegrimtruth.com. Again, that's stevestone@thegrimtruth.com, or theworldofthemissing@gmail.com. Again, that's theworldofthemissing@gmail.com. We are going to be accepting reservations for this forum, and at the time of this video, at the time of this recording, we have not yet set a date for this forum. And once we get all the emails in, we will be contacting people and letting them know when we're holding the forum and all the login information that will get you guys set up so that we can all try to make a difference. I think this is an historic opportunity to make a change for the missing. And finally, I want to let everybody know, coming up on Monday, the Grim Truth Podcast, episode 30, Justice for Ella Crawley, as we start the Grim Truth Podcast Murdered and Missed series, Justice for Ella Crawley. We're going to get into that case Monday on episode 30. Finally, if you're wondering where are season 1 episodes of the Grim Street Podcast, these were all done before I made the switch to YouTube. You can check those out on Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout, Pandora, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you get your podcast. Check that out. And I will be putting the audio clips of these podcasts that we're doing on YouTube over to the audio version, so that people can listen. And we're working on that as well. Again, I want to thank the Flint family. I want to thank the Missing East Texas 8 and Beyond for their wonderful work and their allowing me to profile a case that was brought to them, as we continue to be a voice for the voiceless in search of the truth. I'm your host, Steve Stone, and this has been the Grim Truth Podcast.